There's been a few shows that Netflix as well as my subscribers has been yelling at me to watch, one of them being the 2015 IZombie series that's loosely based off the DC comic of the same name. Today isn't going to be my typical full series or season breakdown. I just wanted to talk about the pilot episode. The episode of a show that's literally created to sell the concept of a series to executives and eventually sell to an audience. Look, I'm not a professional writer, but what I am is an introvert and a homebody who's clocked in well over my 10,000 hours of watching TV. I have a lot of shows that are recommended to me, and I try to at least watch the first episode of every single one of them. But even though I have the sleep schedule of a zombie, I'm just a mortal man. I've seen an absurd amount of pilot episodes, and no matter the genre, there's always similar elements that determine whether or not I'm going to keep watching. And this iZombie pilot definitely has a lot of them. I love when shows drop us off in a cold opening. It's pretty much a cheat code to get my ADHD brain to pay attention every time. I like the challenge of trying to figure out what's going on without being force-fed a ton of exposition and information. The main character from the comics name is Gwen Dillon, but here they cleverly changed it to Ovliva Moore, which shortened is Liv Moore, because she's dead. Her introduction is her saving the life of a patient that's being rushed into the hospital. She's doing her residency and she's clearly on the fast track to become a doctor. It's heavily implied that Liv simply has it made. She's on the way of having the job of her dreams, she has the guy of her dreams, and she's presented as this typical goody two-shoes character who never steps out of line or does anything wrong. But she decides to take just one night to cut loose and have a little bit of fun, and then boom. 2 minutes into the episode and her life is changed forever. Don't give in to peer pressure. She then has to leave her dream fiancé as well as her dreams of becoming a doctor behind to go work as a medical examiner in a morgue, because it's pretty much the only low-key way for her to stay in her field while also satisfying her new craving, which is a pretty interesting subversion from her comic book counterpart who pretty much exclusively gets her brains from being a gravedigger. The pacing of this first episode is nearly perfect. We don't get a long drawn-out backstory to set up her life before she turns into a zombie. The first 10 minutes of the episode gives us everything we need to know about the character of Liv, as well as the mystery that's going to be going on for the rest of the season. Like, how the hell did this party break out into the next zombie apocalypse? Was someone behind it, or was it just a freak accident? And is Liv the only surviving zombie? There's also a lot of clear issues that Liv is going to be facing for the rest of the season in this first episode. She's basically become a recluse and she wants to get back to having some remnants of a personal life because her newfound situation has definitely left her a little bit isolated. And I love that we get all of this without a ton of exposition and stopping the pace of the story. I like when a show has enough faith that the audience watching is going to be able to fill in the blanks. With all that being said, I was definitely enjoying the episode up to this point, but I was still pretty skeptical about the premise of the show. It was cool, but I wasn't fully sold on the hype, and then this happened.
When I eat a brain, I get flashes of memories. She was arrested for shoplifting in 2008.
Having a character who's a zombie and hiding it from her loved ones is definitely an okay concept, but make it where that zombie gets visions of past events from the people's brains she eats and then uses those visions to team up with a detective to help solve their murders. The entire premise of the show is wacky as hell, and it definitely doesn't shy away from that fact. It's pretty self-aware of how ridiculous it is, and it blends that ridiculous with a lot of familiar aspects of a buddy cop comedy that people seem to just love.
It's me. Hi.
It's me, I'm People. I love the buddy cop dynamic in shows, and I hope that formula never dies. It just works so well. It kind of reminds me of Lucifer, which ironically is another DC show that came out around the same time. But one way this dynamic definitely differs from Lucifer is it lets someone in on the secret right off the bat.
Why the hot sauce? Is that a zombie thing?
I really love how they subverted the expectations right away by having Ravi figure out that she's a zombie from the jump. She can't tell her loved ones or her new detective friend just yet, but at least she has someone to help take some of the load.
What did you say?
But anyways, in this first episode, Liv is in kind of a bad place. She isn't really taking care of herself. She's been distant from her friends and her family, which is understandable. I mean, I've never been scratched or bitten by a zombie, but I definitely know what it's like to be in a funk. Actually, helping out with her first case with Babineau is what officially brings her out of her slump. The first mystery is the death of a call girl, someone who's partaken in the world's oldest profession. She's an escort. Anyways, eating this girl's brains is what gives us the first vision that we see. Liv uses that vision to help Babineau get his first bust, and although I did love all of the comic booky elements that ensue, from the dirty detective twist to Liv finding out she can basically Hulk out and go full zombie superhero mode, saving the day and learning to live with her newfound situation, it was all cool, but I thought it was a little strange how she was automatically so gung-ho on helping out and wanting to be an active member of society again. It just didn't make any sense. She's been so disconnected for months. Why would the killing of this call girl all of a sudden make her want to do a complete 180? That's what I was thinking until I realized the writers came up with a cheat code.
What's up? Just had a vision. Yeah, it was like a discipline hearing type thing.
The writers left out a small little detail in this first episode about our friend Liv's brain-eating condition. Not only does she get visions from the deceased, but she also gets some of their moods and personality traits. I don't know if this was something that was adapted from the original comic or if it's something that was created just for the show, but either way, I gotta give credit where it's due. That is just a genius addition. One thing that tends to happen with characters in shows like this is that characters eventually change hands of writers and they start to, act out of character. But these writers kind of crack the code. They pretty much built in an infinite get out of jail free card and they can use it whenever they want. If the story needs Liv to be a little more jittery and anxious, blame it on the brains. If the story needs her to act a little dumber and more irrational than normal, blame it on the brains. If she needs to be more comedic or more serious, they can just blame it on the brains. And although I could definitely see this possibly becoming overused and getting a little bit annoying, that she's a different character pretty much every episode, it's also really smart because you can never really complain that she's acting out of character because it's a part of the story. Her acting out of character every episode is literally a part of the premise of the series. And I'm sure not being constricted by a character's core personality traits gave these writers a lot of freedom to really get in here and have fun with the character, because honestly it doesn't have very many boundaries on what you can do. So we have a fresh concept, check. A decent twist, check. Familiar TV tropes that make it easy for general audiences to get behind your pretty ridiculous premise, check. All that kind of sounds like the ingredients to the recipe of a perfect pilot episode. We end the episode on a final vision confirming what I was wondering the entire episode. Yes, there are more zombies that were created from that boat party rampaging the city, which means yes, I got hooked and proceeded to binge the first 2 seasons of the series, and you should binge my videos starting with this playlist right here.